YouTube says we're live. So welcome to Worldwide Slot Car Chat on Zoom number 187. I'm your host, Greg Gal. The gang's all here. We got Tony and Ed and Luff and Don and Jeremy and Wayne and John and Dennis and David and Martin and Mike and Garth and Big Dan and Jim Rose and other people. Let's talk slot cars. So per last week, we're going to try to start off with some kind of slot car related topic. So again, I encourage everybody out there in viewership land to post a comment wherever you're watching the video from, whether it's a Facebook group or a forum page or right here on YouTube. I will see your comment. Put your suggestion for a topic, and that we'll start the next show off with. I didn't get any last week, but we've thought of a topic to get the ball rolling this week, and that is topic suggested by Mr. Young. Don says, how about people talk about and suggest their favorite ways of removing paint from, whatever kind of car you want to repaint, whether it's a model kit or a pre-painted Scalextric or maybe a die cast or something. You want to strip the paint, and it's got a kind of paint, and you want to use some kind of remover and not destroy the car in the process. So we've got a couple hands up. I think I saw John's pop up first. And then we'll get to Tony and Garth. And go ahead, John.
Okay, great. I can show you actually what I had most recently used. And what I did was I tried to strip the paint off Monogram 550 Spiders, both versions. And the first thing I tried was Super Clean, and that was on the recommendation of some of the folks in our chat. And actually didn't work as well as I had thought. So I moved on to isopropyl alcohol, and the 99% isopropyl alcohol did an amazing job. So that's how the car came out. It's absolutely pristine, no damage to the plastic whatsoever. The other real advantage of isopropyl alcohol is that the paint doesn't go into solution; it just flakes off. So you can actually repurpose the isopropyl alcohol if you let the sediment sort of get to the bottom and sort of take the top off, or just throw another body in. It still works. But look at this; it's like it was out of the mold. It was absolutely beautiful.
Was that a resin body or a
no? That's a plastic Monogram 550 Spider from 2004. Would you believe that? It's almost like 20 years old. And here's the James Dean 550 Spider. I know someone's going to jump on and say, oh my God, you took a James Dean. Yeah, I did. I have more than one, so it was okay. But I wanted to strip it and hopefully get a proper mold done, because I really don't like the way that they had the under tray sort of, and that seam. That's got to be eliminated. And with a good silicone mold, it'll look super. But look at that. It's just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. So just let it soak. How long was it?
Sorry, say again?
How long did you let it soak and completely submerged in a tub full of isopropyl?
It actually started losing the paint in about an hour, and then I used a very soft toothbrush, like a baby toothbrush, and scraped it off, and it was about an hour to 2 hours, and it was done.
So how long did you let the Super Clean let it sit in there?
Almost overnight, and it really wasn't. Yeah, it didn't. I was really not pleased at all. So
that's crazy. All right.
Yeah, and then for the chrome parts, I actually use Easy Off oven cleaner, which works the best on chrome. It really does. I tried Super Clean; it was okay, but there was still some stuff left. So the Easy Off works like so quickly. I mean, it's brutal stuff, but you don't need much of it, which is a good thing. But you can see how this really the isopropyl alcohol did just an amazing job.
I wonder if Super Clean is a different formula in Canada than America.
It could be. I mean, I don't know. It still says it's correct. Now, the good news is when I did the bodies in Super Clean, because there was some residual oil, it really did degrease them. So in that respect, it really works. So it has its uses, but it just for some reason didn't want to take the paint off.
Could have been the type of paint.
It could have been.
You'll find that your results will vary depending on the particular body that you're trying to soak off. Isopropyl alcohol works very, very well on on Carrera, for example. The Carrera cars, John, on your Revell monograms, on quite a few others. But when you get to fly, no way. Fly paint is really, really difficult to get off. It will not come off with isopropyl alcohol. I soaked fly bodies for like 3 days in isopropyl and it doesn't touch them. It may well be the particular type of clear coat that they use, but it's much more difficult.
So was there another solution, Dennis, for the fly body?
I don't really. I think that maybe John's idea of the oven cleaner may be the way to go. Or brake fluid, perhaps. That's another one that sometimes works. But I haven't tried that. I mean, I haven't really repainted many fly bodies over the years. So often I just put a layer of primer over the top of everything and then paint from there. But yeah, just be aware that some brands have paint that's very resistant, but in most cases, certainly slotted, NSR, and most of the others that we use, the isopropyl alcohol is wonderful.
Yeah, works really, really well. And then if you're doing, like, I'm doing a little series on taking a die cast and making that into a slot car, and because the paint on the die cast, because it's metal, boy, you can be super aggressive. Like I use lacquer thinner. Oh man, the paint runs screaming away from the metal. It's awesome.
I once had a HO body shell that I wanted to get down to a minimum weight for regulations for an event. It was weight limit of 3 grams, and I thought one of the ways that I could do this without taking to Dremel the inside, because I didn't have that capability at the time, was to remove the paint on it. And I remember looking into forums and finding this a method that was using like an abrasive polish. I think it was a brass polish or something like that, and a toothbrush. So I sat for hours and hours one time, toothbrushing the exterior of a HO body, with the TV on, in a rag, just brushing away at this body shell. And eventually I managed to get the paint off and lost a little bit of detail. But then they replaced the paint with a single bright color to make it very visible at long distance. And hey ho, we were down at 3 grams. But it worked. But it was abrasive, but without being sandpapers. It was just a polish and brush. But I did lose some detail.
Right, good stuff. Somebody was gonna say something just then. All right, we've got Tony and Garth to go. What you got, Tony?
I've only got a show and tell and a question.
Okay, well, Garth, do you have a paint removal technique to share?
Yeah, I haven't done it very much, but I've done it quite a lot on slot cars. And this is what I use right here. It's called Scale Coat 2. And this is a product that you can get at hobby stores, and it's a train thing. It's what the train guys put on box cars and stuff to get the paint off. And it's like a paint remover, but you can submerge your body in it, okay, and an hour or two, and then very much like John was saying, with a toothbrush, you just kind of scrape it off and then stick it back in, and it works really, really well. The only issue with it is it's really expensive. So, and what happens is the paint ends up, particleizing into the mix. But what I do is instead of throwing it away, I don't throw it away. I have one bottle of there you go, Scale Coat 2, it's called. That's it. So I have one bottle of fresh stuff, and then I have a bottle of used stuff that I've strained, okay, to get all the junk out of it. And
the indication as to what it is, then? I bet they don't tell you, do they?
I don't. It's
straining is a matter of just using a coffee filter in a funnel or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Just a cloth or a paint strainer, just to get the particles out of it. Okay, and it it doesn't lose its gumption. Okay, it just does it again. Okay,
And
And so-
again and again.
yeah, and it's worked really well on everything that we've done with it. So that's mine.
Does it have an odor that reminds you of anything else?
I think it
No,
does.
just
It's a little
do the
caustic.
waft thing. Don't
It's a
just stick your
little
nose in it.
caustic. It's a little caustic to your hand. A little, if you get it on your hand, you can
Yeah.
tell that it ain't, real good.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that.
No, I don't know what. It's not horrible.
Okay, they might add something to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, acetone doesn't have a strong odor. So
No.
and that's
Acetone would melt
that's the
it.
kind of thing.
Carbide.
Acetone will hit your hands pretty quick. It might have some kind
Yeah,
of
the acetone will take the body apart.
This could.
well, yeah,
this-
it'll melt the body too.
My best guess at what it really is, it would be, it's some kind of a chemical that is used as a paint stripper, but it's got additives in it to stop it from being so caustic. Okay.
It might be
mean,
like non-acetone nail.
I don't want to
nail
use the word water, but it's watered down. Okay, so it's not so. I know I've left car bodies in it overnight, and it doesn't melt them. You know what I mean? It just basically it takes the paint off. The more patient you are with letting it sit in the solution, okay, the more paint comes off. Okay,
Yeah.
it's that kind of thing. So. Right.
All right, another option for people. Thank you, Garth. Jeremy, did you
Buddy.
have a paint removal thing?
I will show you. This is called LA's Totally Awesome All-Purpose Concentrated Cleaner. You can get this at Dollar General if you live next to a Dollar General. I'm sure you do live next to a Dollar General. So if you're in America, for $3.75, you soak it overnight and it strips all of your paint. I've been using it since it came out because it was cheaper than Castrol Super Clean. But John said he didn't get good results with Super Clean, which threw me off. But anyway, soak it and plastic will be fine. And even better is when you have, what is the agitator? I can't remember what it's called. Ultrasonic cleaner. You can get an ultrasonic cleaner pretty cheap, like at Harbor Freight. When I'm in a hurry, I'll throw it in the ultrasonic cleaner with some heat and fill it up with this cleaner. And then like 20 minutes later, the entire thing's done. So that's one of my top suggestions, only because I used to buy miniature models off of eBay and then resell them after I painted them. So I had to strip all the plastic, and that was one of the tips and tricks I used to
use
do.
it full strength?
Oh yeah, full strength. Go for it. Anyway, Dollar General, $3.75. Can't beat it.
Jeremy, is it like kind of reusable, or once you use the batch?
Oh, for sure. The problem with reusing it though is that, like, here, this car I just did recently, you get red residue inside the body, because this was a red body that I redid, and as you heat it up, it feels like sometimes the plastic kind of like soaks in whatever the majority of the color is. So that stuff will turn from yellow to like an orangish color. And so when you put another body in there, it's gonna strip all the paint, but then you're gonna pick up, if it was a green body, then you're gonna add green to the color mix. So it's just gonna keep getting like a weird color until it's brown. Once it's brown, then it's down. I throw it away.
Yeah, the heat will encourage the plastic to absorb the dye.
Yeah,
color.
it does. But like I said, that's only for when I'm in a hurry. Like usually
Yeah.
I just leave it overnight cold, and then you don't get any residue.
Yeah, and you can probably use it in the ultrasonic cleaner without heat and still be faster than just letting it sit overnight.
Yeah, probably.
All right, good stuff. And does anybody else have any paint stripping suggestions they'd like to share? All right, Wayne, your connection is terrible. Did you say something?
Yeah, is it better now?
Your best bet is to turn off your video.
I'll do that.
Did you have a paint removal suggestion?
Well, it was a natty way to use an ultrasonic cleaner, particularly if you're using a valuable solvent, and that is to put the solvent inside a Ziploc bag, put the body shell in the Ziploc bag with the solvent, and then throw the bag in the ultrasonic cleaner and submerge the whole thing in water. And that way you save a hell of a lot of your solution.
Yeah. That's a good idea, especially with precious.
That's kind of what I do with flammable, rubbing alcohol. I'll put it in a container first and then put that in the ultrasonic because you never know. I don't want to have a giant fire. But yeah, good tip.
All right, good stuff. Sounds like we're ready to move on to show and tell. So if you've got something you want to show and tell, raise your virtual hand. Tony's been waiting. Go ahead, Tony.
As you know, it's coming up towards Christmas. So these arrived tonight. Oh, BMW.
Revo.
Can't go wrong with Revo.
It's quite amazing that they made 4 different body variants for that thing.
So quickly.
These are the alphas.
They're so pretty. Oh.
Do we think that means 4 different molds, or are they got something in their mold that they can adapt? Do you think?
They probably have different pieces to the mold that they manufacture different fenders and then assemble the body in different configurations.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
We've got the white kit.
What's that, an alpha or an escort? Alpha.
This one's an alpha.
Yeah.
How many of each of those did they release? Does anybody know the numbers?
Is it BMW?
Wait a minute, hold the BMW back up again.
Jeremy, if you want to know how many they released, just keep counting what Tony's doing.
There's 2 BMWs there.
Dennis,
there
you
you can see
BMW the sides are not attached, the flares are not attached to the body.
Yeah, separate mold.
Yep, that makes sense.
Body is one mold and the sides are a separate mold.
Yeah.
So that's how they do it.
Then I got these.
I should grab
I
one
wanted
of
the
those.
blue and yellow car, same as
Yep.
Greg.
Oh, that needs a painted helmet, doesn't it?
And there's this one here.
They all do.
Right, that's the show and tell. Now I've got a question.
Okay. Okay.
I bought this to do my granite countertop, which is quick shine. It's the same as the Pledge Clear. It's a clear. Can you use this on the cars?
Does it say acrylic?
It's a gloss.
Yeah, but is it an acrylic? Because
Probably.
that's what Pledge is.
It would say on the back, Tony, what the chemical composition is if it's an acrylic. If it water soluble?
I don't know. It's a bit small. I can't read this at the moment.
Okay. More than likely, if it is like the old floor covering, and if it's an acrylic, you most likely will use it. It's probably self-leveling, right?
Yes.
I've used that, okay, and it's very almost identical to Pledge.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell. Does the same sort of thing.
It's more or less the same as Pledge.
As far as I could, times that I've done it.
Oh, good. When I've done the countertop, I'll start doing the cars. Well, that is me.
Do an old one first, eh, Tony?
Sorry?
Do an old body shell first.
To test.
Oh, yeah, I'll do an old one first. I'll try it out first.
Yeah.
I bought a load of paintbrushes and all, as well as an airbrush.
The brush to use, Tony, is if you have like a wider, softer brush and use multiple thin coats. That works best for the clear.
I bought this.
Oh, airbrush. Yeah, there you go.
So I'm going to try that.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to airbrush the clear on though if you don't want to. You can actually brush it on. It self levels. You won't have any brush strokes at all.
Yeah.
Garth's got his. Thanks, Garth. I also found it online. If you Google quick shine multi-surface floor cleaner,
The only difference between it and Pledges, this is a little milkier. If you pour it out into a cup, Pledge is damn near clear.
Yeah.
This is just slightly milkier. Okay, but
It's supposed to
when you
be
put it
it's supposed to be the same as Pledge. You know, those wood floors, stone floors. I've got granite worktops, and I've got a stone floor. So I'm going to do that. I bought 5 bottles.
That will last us all our combined lifetimes.
Well,
Yeah, I still got my original Pledge.
you know yourself, the stuff goes on the shelf and it disappears after a while. So I thought I'd stock up.
It's all about his floor, surely. Five bottles for a large floor.
Yeah.
Well,
So
yeah,
you get this stuff pretty much anywhere. I put a link in the description to their website, and they have links to various stores that sell it, so it shouldn't be hard.
I would just like to say a big thank you for Tony for keeping our economy going.
Yeah.
Well, you got to
He's
keep it
pledged
going,
to
haven't
do
you?
that.
All right.
The trouble is that the trade, the hobby is dying. The small model shops are disappearing in England. You've got to go a long way to find a decent model shop in this country.
That's true.
Pretty much inevitable. All right, moving along. Dennis, what you got?
Well, you remember last week I showed you, I think, that 124 scale flexi chassis, press steel chassis, where I had installed the brushless motor.
Mm-hmm.
And so this week I have a little bit of update on those kind of things. And what I've been doing is this.
Uh-huh.
I actually made up a little adapter plate so that I can, come on, focus now. So that I can put a brushless motor into a slotted sidewinder pod. Actually turned out to be reasonably easy. You need to have about a 2 millimeter thick piece of aluminum, although I machined it with a little spigot on the front that fitted into the 6 millimeter hole where the motor would normally locate, just to make sure it's properly located. And then it has 2 flathead or countersunk screws that mount the motor, and then 45 degrees away from that, it has 2 threaded holes so that you can screw it in. And it's really simple and easy. Gets the wires down at a nice exit angle, and I think it's going to work. I really don't think I'm going to actually try this installation because this is a 6,500 kV motor that's in here. And the only other one I have right now is a 4,500, and both of them are going to be way too much for a 132nd scale car. But I was bored yesterday, and so that's what I've been up to.
Hey, Dennis, you think you could design a motor pod for 3D printing that would adapt that motor into it?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, all you really need to do on a 3D printed motor pod would be to have 2 screw holes or 4 screw holes that match the regular mounting bracket, that blue part, the regular mounting bracket of the motor. The only unfortunate part about that is that they vary from motor to motor a little bit.
So what you do is you 3D print the aluminium part.
No, I don't. If you're going to 3D print a pod, you might as well just move everything around a little bit and get it fully centered, although this is not far from fully centered, and just screw it in straight in. Anyway, I just thought that I'd show you that. Feedback on the performance of the 124 scale car is that it's pretty amazing. I took it to the raceway last Thursday night. I ran within a couple of laps. I was running probably 0.3 of a second a lap faster than any of my regular motored cars. and all of them had brand new motors in them, so the cars were in good shape. I was already doing times that I haven't done for quite a while, and then I took another 2 or 3 tenths off of that quite simply with the new motor, with the brushless car. With a 4500 kV motor, it's not a lot faster in a straight line with the way that I geared it, but the performance in the turns is just amazing because of the lower weight of the car. It made it really, really easy. So yeah, this is
are you going to take those cars back and try softer rear tires next?
And try and what?
Use a softer rear tire because you're carrying less weight.
Well, it's difficult to get a softer tire than the ones that I'm using already. But when I did run the brushless car, the tires that I used on that are ones that I would generally not have used on my FK powered cars because they're a little too soft and they tend to bog the car in the turns. So I was already using probably the softest compound that I have, and it was a little softer than what I was running on the other cars.
That's where the potential lies. It's in the cornering pace, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. And the other thing, of course, and that this is what we still got to try and convince the thank you, Greg. What we've got to try and convince the raceway owner about is the fact that changing to these motors is going to improve the racing and probably bring more people back, because right now what he's seeing is that we're using motors, the brushless motors don't need to be replaced, and therefore he's thinking that he's going to start losing a little bit of income. But if you start thinking about it, I mean, I buy a new motor, let's say once every 3 weeks, all right? He makes $6 on a motor because he has to buy it from somewhere and resell it, right? So if he charges me $5 a week more, he's going to come out in front. I'm going to come out in front because over the period of time, there's a lot of work I don't need to do. I know that the car is going to be the same speed every week, as long as all other factors are equal, like if they use the same tires and the same body and that kind of thing. But there's a lot of interest now. People are starting to really sit up and take notice.
Yeah, the guys that are going to lose out are the ones that build the motors.
And I can't think that the Chinese are particularly worried about the couple of thousand motors that they sell to the slot car boys.
Yeah.
Compared to the millions that they sell to everybody else.
Well, no, I mean the people currently making, the parts for the super fast DC motors. Those are all custom built and ground and wound and all that stuff.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Those guys are going to eventually the Eurosport classes, yes, where the super fancy 150,000 RPM cobalt magnet, $700 a piece motors. Those guys are going to lose out a little. Yeah, true.
The advancements in brushless will come inside the ESC.
Yeah, they have already started because the guys, the ESC, and of course it's not actually an ESC; it's much more of an ECOM because it's not a speed controller; it's just a commutator, an electronic commutator. But the advances are coming there as people develop them, so that they, number one, switch on at very, very low voltages, which the old ones didn't, because they didn't need to. When you were converting an electronic speed controller from something like an RC car or a drone, there's always voltage available, whereas with a slot car, there's not. So that was the first thing that they had to work out, but they've managed to work that one out already. And then secondly, it's a matter of the fact that you're interfacing to a controller that really only feeding voltage, nothing else. And but the boards that we're getting now from the UK, from Germany, from New Zealand work very, very well. I mean, I put the whole thing together, got to the racetrack, put the car on the track, hooked up my regular controller, pulled the trigger, and everything worked. And there was absolutely no problems. I haven't had a single cough or splutter or stutter or anything so far. So I'm in that respect very happy.
The short distance future for those things is a situation where there'll be a USB port on your eCom, and you'll be attaching a USB cable to an app in your phone, and then you'll be changing the parameters in the eCom.
Wireless, entirely wireless.
No. Well, there's two different things going on here. One is wireless that Greg's talking about. One is adjusting the eCom, which is what Wayne's talking about.
I'm saying that what Wayne's talking about will be wireless.
Yeah, no, what Greg's saying is he's saying an extra layer on what I'm doing is there won't even be a USB socket. You'll be connecting via Bluetooth.
Yeah.
To do the same
well,
thing.
As soon as you have to do that, I guess that the eCom board is going to get bigger and heavier, and people may not like that much. But, I think that as long as because there's been a lot of talk about people being able to adjust these things and change them and cheat, and that nothing's going to be spec anymore. And I think that if the board manufacturers decide that the eCom boards are not modifiable, then they won't be modifiable.
That's a valid point. In order to make things homologized or whatever, homologated, then they would want, and to encourage people to get into it, they wouldn't want people to be able to mess with it.
I mean, there's a lot of stories right now, like at the Israel Worlds in Atlantic City. A lot of the Italians who were running brushless motors in Eurosport were actually rewinding the motors right there, and they were trying to get a specific level of performance out of the motors that they had. And everybody's making out like this is a bad thing, and I can't see why it is, because you could, quite honestly, if you wanted to do that to a regular cobalt motor, you could do that too. The only problem is then you got to go balance everything. And right now, with the outrunners, you balance the rotating part, and that doesn't change if you change the windings. So, but I can't see, quite honestly, that people who are regular racers who can benefit from a cheap, reliable, fast, consistent motor are going to bother to try and game the system. Anyway, that's my opinion.
So then one of the guys that I race with in 124th has mentioned that there is currently available, that he found somewhere, a brushless motored car. I think it was $160 for the entire car, including the body.
Yeah, it was 140 from Parma.
140.
Well, there's two actually. There's 139 from Parma, which is an old Champion Turboflex with a brushless motor, and then there were a bunch that came from Casey Racing. He built a bunch. They were 169. He's sold out already, but he's building another batch. So yes, there will be cars available for people who want to try them. I don't know yet how the commercial raceways are going to approach racing for those, whether they're going to try and put them in their own class, or whether they're going to try and integrate them into existing classes with regular motors. But one way or another, they're coming, guys. They really are.
Yeah, they'll do that for a little while, and then eventually the whole sport will have moved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, I don't like having to change motors and mess around with the 124th cars. Straightening the chassis is a pain in the ass enough. From the crashes and stuff that happen at high speeds like that. And having to change.
You can do something about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. Change the people I race with mostly.
Yeah, you could do something about
be
that
better
too.
myself so that I don't crash.
Yeah.
Either one of those will do it.
You
Yeah,
buy
the
the
less,
right cars,
the less
they don't
maintenance
bend.
necessary, the better, right, Mike?
Well, the crashes
Pardon
will be gentler because the car weighs less.
Yeah, that I could see.
I was saying the less maintenance, the better.
Yeah.
Oh yes, that's
And
what
for
I'm
guys
looking
who are
for
running a regular
because it's
once
not
a
my
week race,
favorite venue.
it's the way to go. Anyway, that's me for today. Thank you.
Thanks for the update, Dennis. Moving on, Mr. Rose, what you like to share today?
Well, I got a new car. Let's see here. And it's not a 32nd scale car. There's a company that's called Bauer, and they're under the brand name of Vincent and some other things. And they make some just amazing modeled HO cars. And they were kind enough to send me one to evaluate. And so this is a Dodge Charger. They've made all kinds of stuff in the past. They make a Gullwing Mercedes now and so forth. I'll drop the link to their website in the chat. But these things are just gorgeous for HO cars.
Hold on, sorry, Jim. That's an HO car.
That's HO.
That's an
Yeah, look
HO
at that.
car. Yeah.
Look at the. Oh, that's beautiful.
And I think anybody that's taken pictures of HO cars knows that as you take a picture of it and then put it full screen, you can see all the little imperfections, but you don't see any. These things are just gorgeous. So this is a Dodge Charger. They make them in multiple colors and so on. It comes on a standard chassis. I believe this, I haven't even taken it apart yet. I think it comes on a TFX chassis, which is a really high quality chassis, T-Jet style, pancake motors. So I just got these. I'm going to evaluate them and do a video on them. So,
well, and the driver looks human.
Yeah. So the interior, there's not a lot you can do with the interior because the chassis takes up most of the interior. So it's pretty much a flat interior, other than the fact it does have a 3D driver.
With his arm out the window. I love that.
Yeah, with his arm out the window. So these things, like I said, they're just gorgeous. In the past, they've made RS 2600 Capris, Porsche Carrera RSRs, BMW CSLs, and
sorry to interrupt again. But they even got the hubcaps.
Yeah. Vincent makes whatever that company is called. Vincent. They make all these replica wheels, like the Fuchs wheel for the Porsches, all the different brands, BBS in HO size, and they all look great. So it just takes it to another level. These cars are not cheap. I think they're around $80 or $90 for a car with a chassis. So they're more expensive than your off-the-shelf Auto World or so forth, but you can see why.
I'm pretty sure Bauer is the company that Travis, that slot car guy, partnered with for his custom car.
Yep. Yeah, they're a German company. They do have a U.S. distributor. And so when you order off their website in Germany, it actually is shipped out of New York. This is another car that they've come out with, like a chassis they've come out with. It's called their ultra low chassis. And this is made for T-Jet bodies. And as everybody knows that has ever run a T-Jet, the chassis is big just because of the gear train and the pancake armature. So this is their attempt to build a chassis where you can lower the body so it looks normal, because typically HO T-Jet cars, the body sits up or it's draped over the chassis, just doesn't quite look right. First time I got this, I flipped it over and go, which is the top and which is the bottom? It's that low. So on the right is a standard Aurora T-Jet from the 1960s, an original T-Jet. And then this low rider, they call it chassis, on the left. They're about, I think, a little under $30 for the chassis, so they're very reasonable. And I'm a Lotus fan, and I collect Lotus HO bodies, resin typically. I don't really care about Lexan so much. But this is the Lotus 11 on top of a T-Jet, and that's as low as you can get it. And quite frankly, it looks like crap. And so I've never done this body. it's sitting in my box along with a few other Lotus bodies that I've collected over the years. So I will be able to lower this down. I haven't done it yet because I have to cut the body post, so I have to cut some of the body up to make it fit right, but nothing from the exterior. And I'll be able to lower this so the bottom line of the body goes down to the middle of the wheel well, so it will look pretty good using this new chassis. So it's just Very, very cool innovation. It's just one of those little, I don't know what motor it is. That it's the motor you see there is in the center.
Yeah.
So Jim, sorry to interrupt, but is that like a closed can motor?
Yes, it's a can motor. It's a long, it looks like one of our long can motors. The dimension is it's very long compared to the width and the height. But that's the bottom of the car. Excuse me, that's the top of the car on the left. And then the pickup shoes and so forth are on the other side, obviously. So it's just, we'll be able to drop some of these resin bodies that we've had that just look terrible. There's a couple companies that make tons of resin bodies for HO slot cars, T-Jet slot cars, MEV originals, and road race replicas. They make all kinds of stuff. So I'm really looking forward to building this Lotus up now and putting a period paint job on it and dropping it down so it looks normal.
Do you think there's any application for that can motor in 1/32 scale, like for tiny
Too
cars?
small. It's too small. I mean, that's a little bitty motor.
Well,
the armature in that motor must be not much bigger than the diameter of the pinion gear.
Yeah, I should have. Well, I put it next to a T-Jet to give you a relationship, but maybe I can take a picture and put a penny or something in it because. Well, look at the diode in front. You know how big those diodes is. That's a diode or resistor?
Resistor.
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm thinking of, to be honest with you, is a proper 1/32 scale go-kart.
Yeah, you could do it with probably.
But aren't those two things on each side of the can the magnets?
No, those are actually just the metal. I don't want to call it chassis. The metal overlays to mount the pickup shoes to on the other side. Those are not magnets.
Yeah, because I've seen something similar where they had the magnets on the outside.
Yeah, you could do that, but this does not have that.
Okay.
So those are two of the new things from this company, and Bauer's been around a long time, and as like Greg said, they're in a working relationship with Travis to build some slot cars. I think under his name, under that slot car guy name. So they're just great cars. This kind of comes half and half in. Club Corner and Show and Tell, but raceways are closing. We know Buena Park's closing. Motown Raceway has been sold, and I want to thank personally Gene and Jennifer for running that place for 10 years and having a great place to race, both 24 scale and in the past year and a half or so 32nd scale. But the king is dead, long live the king kind of thing. The new owner, Mark Pollard, will take over on January 1st. And he was at our last race. His grandson races with us. And so that's ongoing. He's looking to do some changes and things like that. First thing he did is he got a new logo. So that's the new logo for Motown Slot Car Raceway in Modesto, California. Like I said, he's taking over on January 1st of the actual operation of this. And I've been working with him the past couple of weeks. We're going to expand the 32nd scale program. We're going to try to get people up from the Los Angeles area, from different areas, with different kinds of racing and more racing and so forth. If everything goes as planned, we should have a schedule up for the first 6 months in full next week. So sometimes things fall through, but we've got some great plans going forth for Motown Raceway. So try to find my cursor. There we go. Maybe. No, can't find it, Greg.
All right, I got you. Yeah, so that's great that Motown isn't just plain shutting down, that somebody's taking over and is enthusiastic about.
Gene and Jennifer want to spend more time with family. They've got kids, and so it's very much like some of the NASCAR drivers. It's just a grind to have to be there 4 days a week and open the store and close the store. And it wasn't we're going out of business. It wasn't anything like that. It was just I hope I can find a new owner. And he kind of said, if we can't find one, we'll keep going for a while. But that was, I think, the main purpose was for them to be able to spend time with their family. He says, I'll be here almost maybe as much as I was before. I'd probably start racing again. But he wanted to sell the business to somebody and get out of the day-to-day operation.
Anyone know what's happening with Buena Park?
It's
straight up closing, yeah.
Dennis may have more information than I do.
What's happening with Buena Park?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Winter Park Raceway closes its doors for the last time on December 15th. The tracks, all three of them, have been sold. I'm not sure what's happening with the drag strip. So the drag strip is something beyond anything that I know about. But as far as the other three tracks are concerned, there's a little 8-laner in the back of the store that apparently has a new owner who's going to come fetch it. Where it's going, I'm not quite sure, but I think it's up north in California a little bit from where we are. A place called Bishop. And the other two tracks, the Girding King track and the MTT flat track, those two tracks have been bought by Electric Dreams. They will be stored initially for a while in a storage facility that the Electric Dreams owner has up in Van Nuys, pending some plan to first of all, to find somewhere to put them, and secondly, to refurbish them when we find somewhere to put them. Right now, there is no space at Electric Dreams itself, so but we couldn't, or Electric Dreams owner and management just felt that they couldn't let the opportunity go to keep the tracks, to save them, despite the fact that both of them need some work. Yeah. So that's the story right now. That the Buena Park current owner, has said that he intends to reopen at some point in some other environment with new tracks or a new track. Given the way things go down here and the availability of premises and things like that, I would wait until it actually happened before I would get excited about that. But he is talking about opening again somewhere else. The chances are that if he does, things will look a little different, because I know that he's been talking over the last year or so about opening somewhere that has a combination of slot cars and radio control drifting, because I think he's quite into that as well. But as I say, whether that happens or not, you'll just have to wait and see.
All right, we will wait and see on that. Next up, Brian, go ahead. If you're ready. Unmute yourself. And if Mr. Giprich doesn't respond, there we go.
I think I'm there.
Yep.
Trying to reverse the camera here. Ta-da! Okay. So first off, again, I said I took advantage of Black Friday deals and picked up a couple of NSR sidewinders from Electric Dreams.
Nice.
A couple of the Repsols. Very quick, possibly the fastest cars I own right now. They were incredibly fast out of the box. Great brakes. I was kind of stunned. Yep. And then from Professor Motor, I picked up a pair of the MR slot cars, the Ferraris here. These are my first MR slots, MR slot cars. I'm impressed. They're very nicely made, well components. Not as fast as I thought they would be. They're really not that quick. My cars will smoke these with a 20,000 RPM Piranha motor. Right now, I'll eat these alive. So they run very nice. Again, fabulous brakes on these. I've got, but I'm very happy with the cars. They're beautiful. They're well made, and they seem to drive really nice. They're just a little disappointed in the speed at the moment. The last thing I got, Mike, are you out there?
Yeah, I am.
All right. Last week when I was showing the new chassis with the cockamamie suspension system I came up with, you asked about retrofitting.
Mm-hmm.
And that inspired me, which is always dangerous.
Rabbit holes abound.
I could not come up really with a way to do it that didn't involve cutting and gluing and everything else. So I took a little different approach. So this is still very rough, and that's because of the springs I'm using are ballpoint pen springs. I have some slotted suspension springs on the way. But the way this works is this bracket just retrofits to the front as long as you've got motor pod screws there. And then suspension springs on the end, and it works quite nicely. So it would really be nothing to retrofit this. Now,
that's a very good idea.
I thought I started with the Group C. I figured, oh, tons of room in those. It should be easy. And this one's actually one of the Lancias. The problem I found with this one is with these Versa chassis or whatever you want to call them. You know, this one you can pull the panels out and run a Sidewinder pod.
Yeah.
Your landing spots for your springs are not ideal. I had to move them very far forward. Ideally, I'd like that as far back as I could, just because it kind of puts the leverage point of the springs closer to the rear. It seems to be smoother that way, because the very first ones I did were dead flat. They just went straight across. Now, twofold on that. One, it puts the springs really close to just the front end of the, you know, the front two screws. So it wasn't ideal. And then also there were body clearance issues because, you know, now you're getting in the cockpit area. So the idea here is if I can stay as slim as possible on the motor and get the springs rearward, everything would work just fine. And like I said, it does. They
could you triangulate from the motor to those original side holes?
Like
that. One step ahead of me.
Well, actually, this one I'm developing for the DTM cars. Definite clearance problems there because of the drivers and everything. The cockpits, you know, sometimes those cockpits are full. I could, but I don't know. Yes, it could be done that way. I could do it that way for sure. But like on the, I went to do one of the old school Group C's. I've got the Jägermeister and the Canon Porsches that don't have this type of chassis. You know, it's just inline pod and that's it. You're out of luck. Problem is those pods don't have holes for motor screws. So I couldn't do it. So
your prints don't need to be so stiff, Brian.
Oh, well, that's what I'm saying. I have some the arms you say, I've been working on thinning those down. Actually, I've got this center bar down to 1.5 millimeters. This one I think is 2.5 right now. You know, again, I wasn't exactly sure. You know, so I have been slimming these down as I'm going. Once I get the slotted springs, I'll know exactly. I mean, there is some give here in the arm. If I was to hold that stiff, this will flip. Well, this one won't because it's quite a bit shorter.
Can you print that arm in TPU maybe?
I don't think you want to. I think you want the arm stiff.
No, not necessarily.
And let
the spring underneath it.
And let the springs do the work.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You could eradicate the springs and let the arms do the work if you got the arms correctly. Thickness.
Yep, but you know what? I don't have TPU. I don't plan on printing TPU. I wanted to keep it simple. This is what I came up with. This is what you get. You like it?
You got a new printer and you're not going to print TPU? How dare you?
Nope. Said, you know, this is what I got. This is what I'm working on. Love it or leave it, guys. You want something else? Make it yourself. So, Mike, I'm thinking about you, buddy. I'm trying to hook you up.
Okay.
All right.
It'd be interesting to try that. Essentially, what you're doing is making a aftermarket part that does with what the slotted pods do with a screw assembly. Now they don't do it on the inline, but they do it on the angle winders.
Right.
If you look
yeah.
at that, they have side mountings for those. That's what those holes are for.
I have, yeah. And like I said, this one is this is going to be for inline only, was the thought there. And I figured, you know, most of the Group C cars are inline, and that was kind of where I started. So that's kind of so. But I've got some. Like I said, I did some slotted medium springs coming. Should be here Friday, so I can dial this in a little bit more. I mean, you know, how far off the arm is, off the chassis and everything, all that can be dialed. I got room to drop that down, well, good 1.5 millimeters down to the top of the pod.
If you want to go even lower, Brian, Scale Auto makes springs that are a larger diameter, but they're shorter.
Yeah, Black Arrow.
MR slot car as well.
I had no idea what the length was on these. Slotted doesn't list the length on their springs. NSR does. They do like a 5 millimeter, a 7 millimeter, and a 10 millimeter. But Scale Auto, again, there was no sizes listed on it. So I figured I'll go with medium slotted. It's, you know, probably the most widely available, you know, simplest to get started with. And then we can work with it from there. You know, if somebody else works better, we'll play with it.
When you screwed that thing onto the front of the motor, did you cut away the original part of the mounting part or not?
Nope,
screwed on top of the original part of the pod.
It's still there.
Okay.
So
all right, I see you. Thank you.
That's the whole idea. You alter nothing on the chassis.
Yeah.
And you can see I barely had space on this end where the screw or the spring landed, unless you wanted to nibble off that tab, that little wire tab there, or you know, again, I didn't want to land on those removable plates. So ideally I would have liked to have had that back a little further.
Well, why don't you make your crossbar so that it tips over the top of the motor? Instead of screwing onto the front, just snap it over the top of the motor.
Height clearance was the idea.
Yeah.
The other thought I had was if I could make it where it would snap into one of the magnet slots. You know, you pull out the magnet, you could slot that in. Now, if you had a pod with the engine, with the motor screws at the back, you're running off the can end for your pinion instead of the bell end like they do. You do the same thing. You know, the piece would work.
Print a pod that way around.
Yeah. Well, again, for my own stuff, I would, create that pod. But this was trying to retrofit something.
Sure. They used to have pods like that, but they
for your information, Brian. Sorry.
Go ahead.
FYI, the height of the springs for Scale Auto is 5.8 millimeters. I just measured it on about 3 of them. So, and what they do is they change the thickness of the wire to change the spring tension on it. Whereas NSR just changes the length of the spring.
Right.
Is all they do. And slotted, I don't know what they do. I've only seen the soft springs on slotted. But they've got great adjustability at the rear of their suspension kits.
Right.
So
these coil springs for slot cars, nobody's really doing it very well.
I think I know you don't want to change this, but the suggestion would be to get rid of the coil springs and go to a leaf style spring.
Well, he had that out last week, didn't he?
Yeah, he was doing it with the rod, with the steel rod.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So my question is, so you don't want to print TPU? Do you ever print PETG?
I have in the past. I have not had good luck with it.
Okay. Well, if you're ever curious, PETG has a better deflection before failure than PLA. So it has a springiness that doesn't fail like PLA, so it's not as stiff as PLA. So it would be an effective material to print out so that it is the spring, and you don't need to buy springs and stuff like that. So
using the plastic material as a spring?
Yeah, as the
spring. Designing it so that it presses, that it basically meets up with your chassis where it needs to meet, and then design the arms such that they have the amount of deflection that you want. Kind of like the SCX pod with the thing, but obviously with plastic.
With the legs on the motors, they're the springs. Yeah.
And then you don't need to worry about springs at all. Just a thought. PETG is a lot easier to print with than TPU is, that's for sure.
Yeah, the only PETG I've tried, I had some inland from Micro Center, some black, and I even tried it in this printer, and I just used the default PETG settings, and it wasn't great. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. So that might be worth trying.
My experience with PETG is that it tends to have a stringing problem, and even brand new, fresh, vacuum sealed spools can have absorbed moisture during the packing process or whatever. So putting it in a dehydrator for a few hours will make it print way, way better.
Yeah, even but I don't own a dehydrator, and I'm not going to buy one. So
no,
you can also find
you can use your printer as a dehydrator.
Yeah, that's true.
You can find flexible PLA now also.
Yeah, that's also an option.
Yeah. Yeah, Micro Center had like 5 different PLAs now. They've got PLA, PLA Plus, PLA Tough, PLA Pro, and PLA AW, which I wasn't sure what the heck that was. So,
doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah, that's a thought. If we try to if we decide the coil springs aren't the way to go, I just figured that was the simplest solution, and that's kind of what I was going at. I mean, we're talking Mike here. I had to keep it simple, right?
Thanks a lot, Brian.
Either way, it's cool.
It's cool.
So thank you for sharing that. All right, moving on. Big Den, what you got?
Nothing as complex or groundbreaking as Brian, and but I'm just a simple sort of guy. Me and Mike, we're like that. Okay, so I'll do a quick screen share, and there it is. Fingers crossed. I must confess, every time Jim talks about his losing his cursor, I sort of wiggle mind to see if I've still got control. Okay, So one question I want to ask Tony is, does Santa in England have to hitch up 3 or 4 extra reindeer to carry all the cars he brings to Tony? I mean, he come up with about a dozen cars there. He must have a good load on when he goes to Tony's place. So this is one of the new Reaver slot Porsche GT2s. They released three new liveries. This only come into the store at Armchair Racer in Australia last week. So I had one on pre-order. So just another look at it there, but quite a nice. Sorry, I couldn't get one in yellow for you, as Greg, but that's how it came. So. And just the back view.
That would look fantastic if the white were yellow.
Yeah. No, it's a nice looking bright car there. So I actually held this car up and showed it last week, and I just sort of do a couple of pictures of it. This is an advanced slots Golf Mirage from around 1976, 75, 76. Notice how I cleverly edited the driver's head out there. I thought that was a master stroke, though. But the driver in it was black, so I tried to make him a different colour, like purple, but it needs about 17 coats on it to make it work. So just another.
You got a picture of the chassis of that Big Den?
Pretty standard. I'll hold it up, Mike. I don't think it's
probably just the regular angle winder chassis, right?
Yeah, just the regular chassis. Yeah. The only thing I did notice with it, this one has an 11-tooth pinion on it. Normally, Revo's gear ratio on the larger cars is 1233, but I looked at this one and it's 1133. So I don't know whether that's just one they've gone wrong at the factory, or that they showed on the website as being 1233, but mine is definitely an 11. And just the last one, I did mention last week, last time I was on a couple of weeks ago, that one of our local guys has been doing some 3D body printing, and he came up with this. Many of you guys would know this car. it's a 1958 GMH Hold, what we call the FC model. So this Brian only been working on this the last couple of days, so I just thought I'd throw that. But I'm trying to rationalise my slot car collection. He keeps throwing these temptations out at me, and they're really. I'm thinking about the HRS chassis, but when we measured them up the other night, they're a little bit narrow for that. So I'll just shop the steer or stop the share even. And I don't think I've got anything else. I'll just have a quickly look at my notes. Yeah,
Dennis, you can try one of those. Try one of those printed chassis that Brian showed last week, similar to the Sebring. I've just printed one out, and they look like they're bloody great. Thanks very much, Brian.
Yeah.
You're awake. Let me know how it works out, and if you've got any suggestions, let me know.
Well, I've widened it a little bit because it's going under a Lancer D24, adjusted the wheelbase, but I've got to fit it up yet. I just haven't had time this week. And yes, Dennis, I am awake already. Haven't had breakfast yet, though.
Great. Okay. There was one thing last week, Greg. You were showing that tray you had for organising spare parts and sorting them. I think you printed one out and you just put a whole bunch of parts in it and then shuffled some sideways. And one of the things I would have probably done is just glue some little magnets strategically at different places to keep the screws, providing
that's a great idea, but most of the hardware that I deal with is stainless steel, so it's
so providing it was compatible was the next proviso. So that's me for show and tell.
Where would Greg find?
Where would I find a magnet? They're all in my cars.
Mike's got plenty.
You want some, Greg?
Nah, I'm good.
Look, hold them up. All
right.
The other thing is, you could put little bits of blue tack or something like that on there where you could just.
That's true, but have not had a problem so far. So, but I'll keep that in mind.
Then I'll hand over to Dewan's next.
If they're magnets, they're probably stuck to my chairs out the back.
Yeah, as soon as it falls off the table, clink.
Yeah.
Where did it go? All right, Dewan, go ahead.
Oh, okay. This is probably old news to everyone else, but I've just been kind of, I'm going to use the word flabbergasted about the differences in methods for cleaning your tires. This is Minco, and I just did a little experiment using the lint roller right here, and I think you can probably see can you see the indentations? It took about 5 or 6 swipes until it became completely clear using the Scotch Brite version from Costco. And I noticed this when I was at either, I think it was the MR Slack Car event. I had was racing and I had cleaned my tires, and one of the guys offered to be one of my pit assistants, and he went and cleaned my tires again, and I had it so it was completely clear. And when he cleaned it, he kept getting more and more and more debris off of it. So the tire that I just finished cleaning with that Scotch Brite, I took that same tire with this cleaning roller, dust roller, and these are the number of swipes that I kept getting off of it in additional after it was completely clear with the other one. And that is the one by Target.
Super stick lint roller. That's what. Interesting.
But sorry, Dewan, sorry to interrupt, but are you sure it's track debris or is it actual tire debris?
It'll probably be a bit of rubber. It'll be like the super.
It's pieces of rubber from the track.
Look, just from the track.
No, what came from the track is what came off on his first lint roller, but then the second one pulling off more is going to be rubber that is not attached very well, essentially.
Okay, so.
But then the car will be even better sometimes.
I was amazed at how much this super stick roller from Target was able to pull off of a clean tire I had just cleaned. And so I just wanted to point that out if anyone has a preference. So I went and bought a whole set of these Target rollers. I took the handle off of this one, of course, and put it in my pit box. So
yeah, that's what we use here, and it works really well.
Yeah, and when I was at the race that time, I said, "Well, what kind of lip roller is that?" And he says, "Oh, I just got it at Target." And so I went there and got it immediately. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that.
I mean, at some point, you want to stop. Like if it keeps going, it keeps giving you black streaks and black streaks and black streaks. You're like, wait a minute, I'm gonna run out of tire soon. I mean, at what point did you decide not to keep going when it kept making black streaks?
It cleared. It was becoming clear on the Target lip roller. It started becoming clear.
Yeah, they'll get clearer after a few swipes.
I mean, that's what I'm familiar with the lint rollers I use, but I don't have Target super stick lint rollers, so.
Just,
so that's good to
like
know.
I said, okay.
All right, thanks for sharing the one. And Jeremy's got his hand up. What you got, Jeremy?
Okay, I'd like to talk about the world's greatest pit box. As people know, this is from Harbor Freight for $19.99. It has a few problems though when you get it. First, when you have the trays, they're plastic and they bow on you. And then second, the lid just kind of flops around on you. It falls all the way down. It's kind of annoying. So with that in mind, I have created a few things here. Some wood panel for the tray inserts. Let me see if I can share. Greg said sharing is better. Let me see here. Share screen. Hopefully this is shared now. You see the original trays kind of bow and flex as time goes on. So after a couple of years. So here on this particular picture is a 3mm wood tray that I've created for it. On this one, this was for my class that I race. We race a vintage class first and then a fly classics. Obviously these cars are not in order. This is just to help me remember what I need to bring, because oftentimes when I'm leaving for an event, I've done it a few times where I forget that, we're racing NASCAR. Oh, I didn't bring it with me. Darn it. So stuff like that. I don't know exactly. Oh, here. There's a guy in NorCal Slot Car who agreed to let me use this design logo on here. And I sent him
that looks cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I sent 2 of them to him for testing just to see, because I need to see if the 3mm versus the 5mm, which one is going to hold up better, because the 3mm ones are in white and they like this one here. Let me go back to, can I switch back to screen? How do I stop sharing? There it is. Okay. So like this is a white one, which is on birch wood, and it's thinner. It costs like twice as much to make. And then I was trying to play around with designs, and you guys are all professional club racers. So if you can think of anything that would go on there, just kind of generic, like I was going to put like the gear ratio charts on there, but I don't know how useful that is when you're out at a race. Usually that's what you would use at home if you care. Here's an example of, here's a light birch one versus here's like a cheaper one that's 5mm thick. It's just not as pretty in my opinion. Let me grab this real quick. So
that 5mm one is probably Luann plywood.
Yeah, it's just it's hardwood plywood from Home Depot. Yeah. They sell it and it's for their project boards. What's that?
It's a mahogany. You put a clear on that, that'll look gorgeous.
Yeah, maybe. Here, Jim suggested, what about a name badge or a plate in that area on the thing? And then as I got to working with Garth, he kind of helped me come up with this idea. These little things clip in here, but what you would do is when you get to your event, you would stick them on the side and then your box will stay up. You don't got to worry about it flipping over and flopping over. So they'll just kind of slide on there and then your box stays up. It won't fall forward this way or that way. And I was thinking about just combining them all, like two of those, two of these, a nameplate that somebody wants, getting it out to people. That's going to be the hard part. It's like selling them on eBay, and that's the plan for now.
Motown Raceway wants them.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, they want to buy them with their logo on it.
Oh, okay. Who do I need to talk to? I'll talk to them. I don't want to make a whole big spiel about it. Anyway, reach out if you guys want one. I don't know, and please let me know like what would be a good. I was thinking like 2 of them for $10. I don't know if that's because anybody who buys the Harbor Freight thing is thinking I want them cheap. You know, I don't want you to spend $20 because just buying the whole case is only $20. So I don't know what I would sell these for. I have no idea. So
I mean, it's nice that the Harbor Freight case is only $20, but I think people would pay more if let's say for example the case had those features.
Yeah,
people would be willing to pay more to get the case with those features. So I think $10 is very, very reasonable. You could probably ask for more than if you're talking about two car plates and then the 2 little hooky things and then a customized nameplate for your lid for $10. That's too cheap.
Yeah, I think I was thinking just for 2 generic nameplates, I can put those on eBay, two for $10 and plus shipping. You know, $5 shipping. That's for the guy who wants to go super cheap. The guy who wants his own custom nameplate with his logo, his design, we're gonna have to negotiate that a little differently. But you know how it is when people start wanting special things for themselves, then they change it and they change it, and you're like, oh.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
You know.
So just 2 plain car plates.
Just 2 generic plates, $10, 3mm. I don't know, 5mm. I don't know. They won't be as pretty as normal, but it'll work.
I mean, I wouldn't go for the expensive stuff. Go for
I think 2 car plates and the holders for the lid, because those are generic. Maybe $14.95.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Jim, you got 2 of the plates coming to you, both sizes. Test them out. Let me know if there's any bowing or flexing, because if the 3mm don't work, then I'll switch to 5. Cool. And if anybody can think of anything generic that could go on there, because like right now, I just have the cutouts for your guide to fit in, and then lines where like the cars would go. Oh, and the last thing I was thinking of is on the plates themselves, like some people don't want their tires to touch the plates. So I took the cutout part and I thought, well, if somebody really wanted to, they could glue it on here and it'll lift your car off of the back so the tires don't touch. My other thought was to cut out holes for where the tires are, but then I worry about if I cut too many holes on this, it's going to start to sag as well because you've cut too much away from this. So I don't know. There's options, but cutting holes in it also brings the car down a little, so you have more room in there for taller cars. Because right now, a NASCAR will touch the top one, like the Scalextric NASCARs will touch the roof of the next wood plate if I use the 5mm, whereas the 3mm they won't touch. But
can you hold it up again?
Oh, sure.
Okay, you could probably pull those away from the front edge by another mil or 2.
Yeah,
they don't need that close.
These ones are way too close. This was the first one I ran. I've moved it back 8mm, so that problem is solved. But I was thinking if I put holes here for the wheels to fit in, then I'm going to have 2 times 4. That's 8 giant holes.
I would say go ahead and include the bars and say, glue in place.
If you want to glue that on there,
off, let them decide.
Yeah,
and then if they want to toss them, then they can just toss them. But
that's Jim. The ones I sent Jim, you do have those included in there. If you want to wood glue them on there, and if you want to raise your tires, see if that works at all, or if it's just
to me that's not a big deal because I don't store my cars in that. Those are just to transport it. So transporting it to the track and back, it's not going to flat spot the tires. If I stored it there for long periods of time, then I would put the little riser on it. Cars come out, go in their storage box until I go to the next race.
Yeah, but I know lots of guys who their slot box like that is their all their cars.
Yep.
So yeah.
And definitely. Then last question, and what this sticks out in black plastic here. You can kind of see where it comes down. There's just nothing there. Anything interesting that you guys would put on here, or just your name and phone number maybe, or something? I don't know. I couldn't think of anything cool. Like I was gonna do like a wire cutout of a Porsche, but like I don't know.
Robin is racing.
Do what?
Rubbing is racing.
Yeah, I mean, you could do anything you want, but I'm just trying to think for a generic one. If I was going to send it out with something,
Worldwide Slot Car Chat.
you got to pay for that.
The logo.
That's advertising.
I think that's basically
Or
the
that's just
place
leave it
you
for
would want to put a customized name. Yeah, I mean, there's
All right.
people might want to put a silhouette of their favorite kind of car or something.
If you have noticed this notice, you may notice it's not worth noticing.
That's true. Or just put the number 42 there. Okay.
I think a nameplate would be that's the kind of thing a nameplate
That's
would
just
be.
custom. Okay.
Jeremy, you could also cut some sort of a small fence that would glue along the front of those slide-in shelves.
Oh, so your car doesn't slide off the edge?
Well, no, that's vertical. And the first thing that will do, apart from meaning that it won't slide off, is that it won't sag either.
Oh, it becomes a structural element.
Oh,
if you make it, you key it into the front and you pop it in there and wood glue it along the front. And then it doesn't have to be more than 3/8 or half an inch high. But then that will stiffen it. Then you could run it at a 3mm always.
Do you guys actually see these very often at your club, these yellow and black ones now?
Oh,
because like everybody in our club has one now. So I don't know. There's only like 2 people who don't have them at this point. But
a lot of people a lot of people will see the fancy wood ones and be like, ooh, where can I get a slot box? Not realizing that those toolboxes are ideal.
Yeah, or that the fancy ones are so expensive.
That too, but they're just as happy with the plastic ones. So it's like, once they find out about it, they're like, okay, I'll just get one of those.
If you're just carrying cars, or you're carrying a number of cars and just some controllers and things in the top, that one's ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been looking to upgrade myself because I have the Harbor Freight briefcase, but you can't really carry as much as that one, the plastic tote. So, but yeah, I think it's definitely a great start. What you got going on there, Jeremy?
Jeremy, can you show those little brackets that hold the lid again, please?
Oh, yeah.
Are
you able to see on my camera?
Yeah, just got to hold it up so we can see where they go.
You just want to see the bracket itself?
Yeah.
So it's just cut out of a design, and this is upside down. So you would, let me see, if you push it on here and just kind of slide it around.
Oh,
and then
clever.
You push it on there and slide it around.
Excellent. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, okay. I missed it the first time.
Yeah, if you can make those out of metal, even better, because like I've had a few where like if the kids come by and snap it, it will snap, but I can make, a dozen of those and laser cut them in seconds and send them out, so if you have one that breaks, and then it doesn't fall forward. And if you really get serious about it and push it shut, the plastic bows enough to where it won't break, but you can see where it's like bowing a little, the plastic there.
Very cool. Thank you.
Cool. If you make one out of metal, Dennis, send it to me.
Or 3D printed.
Well, I was thinking I could do it in 3D printing, but then I thought for strength I would want.
Dennis isn't about to 3D printed. That's for
there.
I mean, people out there in general, but yeah, the laser cutting is the way to go if you've got a laser cutter to provide it as a product for sure.
All right,
was me. Good stuff. Are you going to put that on your on the website?
Yeah, jadedparts.com. If you go there, it's already up and ready. I just got to start putting some up on eBay pretty soon.
All right, cool.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Jim, what you got?
I just had a real quick follow up to that. I don't know if people had seen my video on this.
I half expected Jeremy to start talking about these things that he also is going to offer as a product.
Yeah, well, this now becomes $100 pit box, but it's got a built-in light, and there's a tutorial on how to build it on my YouTube channel. So this is the best thing that I've ever come up with in terms of cockamamie ideas that actually work. That IKEA light cut in half, silicone adhesive to the box, and runs off a power bank, and that thing is the greatest thing I've ever designed. Idea that I've come up with, it actually works.
That's great having light right there. Bright light,
right? And I'm not dependent. Well, I've had pit lights before that are portable, so I'm not dependent on power. But they usually last 2 to 3 hours, and on that 10,000 milliamp power bank, that'll last 2 days.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good reminder. And
Hi, Marco.
Hi, Marco. Sorry, I forgot to post the link to the thing. Anyways, we still got half an hour. We got plenty of time for some Club Corner. If anybody has any past, present, or future racing they want to talk about, raise your virtual hand so that I remember to call on you. Mike, you don't need to raise your hand. Go ahead. Talk about your racing.
Well, we had some of the best racing we've ever had. We started out with DTMs and we did quali and we had 41/100ths of a second difference between the three cars. So it was really close. So the racing was really, really close with that. And I was lucky enough to come out on top in that one. And then we did Le Mans cars, and there was only a 1/10 of a second difference between the three cars with three different drivers. It was pretty amazing. And that was really, really good race too. But the third race, Little Nemo here was mostly out of the box. I had planned to do a video with how it runs with the original stock configuration and nothing done to it. Well, that flew out the window because I decided I was going to race it. So of course it got the treatment, the basic treatment. It didn't get the whole 9 yards. It didn't get the suspension and everything else that I've got in any of the other ones. But flat out of the box with a set of tires and loosened the pod, this thing was as fast as any of my other tunable cars. And the difference is, I don't know if I remember you seeing the chassis on this that's slightly different. You can see how it's cut out at the front there. The flat plate in front of the guide and everything is eliminated. So anyway, I threw a set of G25 tires on it and ran with my other two fastest Lola LMP cars, which are both LMP Mazdas, Mazda Lolas rather. And I spent 110 laps basically either an inch from the car in the inside lane, harrying him, but I couldn't pass him. And I had 5 offs trying to pass him. And the whole thing ended at about 115 laps into the race out of 125 when I lost all my damage points. But I could catch him, but I couldn't pass him. And believe me, I tried everything I could think of. And one thing I will say about this, the Nemo, glue all the front end parts in because they will come off. I lost one headlight bucket, both of the front clear lenses and the 2 dive planes on each side. Because, when you're following somebody that close, it's really hard to not hit them on braking, especially if you've got a slightly faster car. But the only way I could even make a close attempt, and I did pass him twice, but fell off soon afterwards, unfortunately. And I'd have to get right up on his tail and then hit the lane changer and go through that section and then try and get ahead of him. And man, it was tough racing. So if you look at the video, it was pretty interesting. If you watch, here I am sitting behind him. It's like, oh man, and you can see me pull out and try to pass him, but the outside lane was just too slippery. I couldn't get it around there, and I gotta figure out a way to change that so it equalizes, because the inside lane has become the lane to be, and the only way I can change it is use the ghost cars, and that's problematic because it seems to exacerbate the problem I've got with it cutting out. I still haven't fixed that. So we'll see what happens. But man, all 3 videos this week were really close. It was really close racing. I think the worst finish we had was one car was 2 laps behind. Although Shiggy did break the record for offs in one race. He was off 25 times on the one race. So it was he didn't have a lot of control this week. But
it's every 4 laps.
What happened?
That's every 4 laps. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Yeah, I think he finished quite far behind on that one, come to think of it. I think that was the last race when I was racing Ratby for the whole time. But yeah, you can see me. I'm like 2 inches behind them at the most, and then I'll try and pass them, and I'll lose off, and I'll have to pull back into the other lane and get up behind him again. I could get right up on him within 3 or 4 laps, but I couldn't get around him. It was really, really hard. So
hasn't the outside lane been the desirable lane for a long time?
It used to be. Yeah, it used to be. It's changed. I don't know whether we've got more rubber on the track or what the deal is, but we used to have to use the outside lane to set the fastest lap, but no longer. So I'm thinking about, painting that section of it on the outside to see if I can get more grip there. There's a couple places where it's just slippery enough that you can't get around it on that outside lane. And and maybe it's because we're not running the outside lane as much because the inside has become faster. But I don't know. I think I'm actually, I don't know if you remember, I'm going to get a new power base because last week, the power base that Shiggy was plugged into that let go, and we just had a hell of a time with it. And we actually abandoned the DTM race after about 25 or 30 minutes of mucking around with it. So I've got to get the handle on this problem, and I'll talk to you about that later. I'm thinking about coming over tomorrow if you're available. So we'll see what happens.
Yep, I should be here.
But yeah, if you're interested, check out the videos because it's like it was just amazing to have the cars be that close, and especially the DTMs. I mean, it's really nice to be able to have 3 different cars. They're all the slotted DTMs, and they're within that close of time.
Yeah.
So they're tuned up to be that close, and it really is nice because then it's strictly the driver that's causing the situation. And all 3 cars are, different weights and different stuff, but I've got them. I've managed to tune them. I always take the worst one and work on that one first and the most. And if it doesn't increase or decrease the lap time too much, then I will, keep it even. I'll try to bring the other ones up to it and try and even it out. And that's my Monday all day work, is to get those 9 cars for the races working equally.
Yep.
It's really harder than you think to do.
Oh no!
Sometimes we do IROC races.
I think most of us know. That's why we don't.
Hey, yeah. Michael, when you get to know that little Nemo car a little better, you'll find that there are quite a significant number of little innovations in that really, really brought the performance forward. The tunability.
Well, I was blown away. Even out of the box with the C1 tires, the thing was competitive by about 0.3. It was like, wow. And I put the G25 tires on it, and then it was right down with the lap times of my fastest cars. So it was really, really a nice car to drive.
Yeah, there's a few little innovations, and if they adopt those and use those in all future chassis, then the latest version of all the slotted cars will always be the ones to have.
I really hope that slotted goes in full boat on the new LMD and LMDH cars, because I know they're coming out with the Acura. Although I'm not partial to that pink Meyershank Racing livery, or livery as Wankel is prone to call it. But I think if they can get the either the yellow Cadillac or the blue Cadillac in there, those would be some really, really nice looking cars. And plus all of the new LMP cars for this current ones are really, really interesting looking from my eye point. I can't wait for that to happen. And if the chassis are as good as this one, moly hackle, that's amazing.
All right.
So they're really, really fun cars to drive, just really sweet. So
thanks for the race.
That's my
Mike, let's get some Big Den in here. Go ahead, Big Den.
Yeah, before I start a screen share, if Wayne wants Jeremy to print him a custom logo, I would suggest 53M27S.
Yeah.
Is that similar to ID 10T?
It refers to measurements of time, Jeremy.
Oh, 53 minute. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I understood.
We love Wayne. Stop it.
All right. Move along.
Okay. Okay, since I last was on, we've had 2 race days, starting off Saturday, November 25. We started off with 7 races. 2 arrived late, and we thought we were going to have 9, and then some things happened that we went back to 7. Anyway, unusual circumstances, shall we say. Anyway, we started off with DTM, and I started off with a win. So there we go, 7 there. And from there on, I just dropped off a bit, but that was nice to get a win somewhere. So there's the scores. It was fairly comfortable in the end, which was unusual. Mostly the DTM class is pretty close. But anyway, moving on to the next one was GT2s, mainly Revo GT2s, and our host Dave's got his McLaren going quite nicely there. So he's, I had my custom Viper there in second place with the custom decals from, I think I got it from Pendle. Phil got them for me some years ago now, and the results. Oh, sorry, that looks like they're out of order. That looks like the results of the LMP race. So I must have the numbering wrong. So I'll just go forward a few. Yeah, so that was the GT2 result. So I think there's is that 83 and 82 laps respectively for the first and second. Okay, if I just whip back now, and LMP1. Had tyre troubles. I'm making a career out of having tyre troubles with cars, but as you'll see in the scores, I did manage to still slot into, no pun intended, slot into third place there. But as you can see, again, when I get the right scores up, oops, okay, I'll just go back and get the right ones up. Right, that was there. As you can see, I had one heat, only 22 laps, which put me 6 or 7 laps behind what the other guys were doing, but I finished strongly. I did start, the 22 laps was my starting heat or bracket, whatever you want to call it, or stint. And so a good day. One of the guys didn't race in the last race. It was quite a warm, steamy day after overnight rain, and it just got to him a bit. So he just sat on and worked the panel and did marshalling. So that's why there's only 6 in that race. So, and then we move on to last Friday night, and our Revo class under class 2 or whatever you call them, under 2 litres. Bart got the win here, one of our newer racers, although he has been around the scene and radio control for quite a number of years. He borrowed Dave's car and managed to beat Dave, and Dave's father, Peter, beat Dave too, so it's unusual to see Dave down in 3rd spot. It was not unusual. It seems it's not becoming unusual to see me in last spot. I've perfected 0 grips on my little Revo Escort, so I had an abysmal night in that class. It's a good word, isn't it? If you see a 7th car there, it's a bit of our version. We're not in digital, but it was our version of the ghost car. One guy said he was coming and said he was really coming after it. Was quite positive that he was going to come, so we put his cars on the back road just because we thought he was there in spirit, if not in presence. So there's the scores. New racer Braylon, 5th place is Bart's son. For his first race, he didn't do too bad at all. So did better than me, obviously. So moving on to the second class, DTMs again. And I can't remember who won this one, but I'll just quickly. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Peter. So Peter had the win, Dave's father, and Dave's second, and Leon third. I loaned my DTM Mercedes to young Braylon, and I ran the black Calibra there. So it's not better. But again, started off with tyre troubles, but then got better as the last couple of brackets went on. And there's the scores. Didn't really shine in overall, but and last class was GT2 Revo. Dave beat me again. This time I ran my other Viper. There was a little bit of difficulties with traffic with the new young racer, but it's pretty good night to have 6 racing anyway. So and that should be that. And there's the scores. Yeah, Dave had quite a healthy margin over myself and Peter. That was it for the last couple of weeks at Laguna Seca, as we call our local raceway. Okay, so that's me for this time.
Good stuff. Thanks for sharing the Down Under activities. And it looks like Marco wants to share something. What you got, Marco?
Let me try to unmute. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Oh, great. So I have 2 things to share. The first one is that this weekend we have the NSR Western Championship, which is our side of the Eastern Championship that they do at Cloverleaf Racing. Andrea is supposed to be here. His brother had an emergency surgery in Barcelona. They're moving him to Spain. Apparently something that they're trying to do for a long time to find this specialist, and the surgery is on the same weekend of the race. He's supposed to be here, so he's not going to be here. But still, we're going to have around 43, 45 racers. I think from here, Dennis is going. Not going. Oh, okay. I'm going.
You're muted.
And
no, I'll be there.
And Mr. Jim Rose clearly trying to sabotage the race, as he's not coming. He's not coming for the Christmas Enduro, and now he has a background with LEB on it. So, okay, we lost Jim Rose.
Oop, sorry.
Yeah, we lost it. That's fine. Okay, I can't
politics.
No, that's somebody else's track. That's entirely coincidental.
Yeah, right. Other than that, I think we're gonna be one of the coolest race we have. We're gonna do qualify on Saturday. If you guys are around, please follow our YouTube channel. We're gonna do the whole broadcasting for the qualifying. We have now 10 cameras, including one on top of the track, which is pretty cool. The qualifying is gonna be a little bit different. It's gonna be divided in queues. So everybody goes to key 3, key 1, and then I believe that the 10 or the 15 pass to key 2, and then the 5 fastest, they go to key 1. And then we cap the cars. And the next day we have the race, and during the race, everything is organized. As soon as you walk in, on the night before, what time you race, what time you marshal. And that race, everybody races according to the qualifying order. We go to the semi-final with the 12 best, and then the 6 best, they go to the final, which is a little longer. We have trophies. We have great prizes from NSR. I'm looking forward to this. It's one of the big races, very similar to the Slotted Nationals that we'll be doing in August. And we're going to have food trucks, the full electric alley set up, even a guard at night to take care of the alley that's going to be set up during the morning. We're going to be there. So if you guys, of course, most of you guys cannot come to see it, but we need to take a look on our YouTube channel. It's going to be there. It's going to be pretty cool. There's also commentating during the race on Sunday, which is something that Jim could be here doing, but not. Another thing is I've been working a lot in the past week. On the past weeks, we acquired, Electric Dreams acquired both tracks from Buena Park Raceway. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. I got a new background. Thank you, Jim. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but this brand, Buena Park Raceway, has been around since the late 60s. They are both tracks that we got. They're many racers, many races and racers being there. So they have a lot of slot car history on it, and we're waiting to see if somebody is going to step in to reopen the place or take over the place. But nobody showed up. I was afraid that we're going to lose the tracks. So I spoke with Scott. We got the tracks. They're going to storage. And soon we're going to make them available again for everybody to keep the tradition of that. Both those tracks and the slot car racing 124 scale, retro, hard body. And the flat track is also used for 132nd scale. So two good acquisitions for us. We're trying to save a little bit. I've been working a lot on those deals. It's very hard to deal with people sometimes. Renting trucks, moving stuff. The great Bob Scott's going to be here tomorrow morning to start to take it apart. And we're going to pack it well and move it up. So soon we're probably going to have another building or maybe an expansion for our Let's Go Dreams. But soon they're going to be available for everybody. That's it.
Cool. Yeah, looking forward to finding out where that's going to be.
Yeah.
All right, thank you,
and
sir.
This weekend, the big deal this weekend is yellow tires, guys.
Oh, the handout tires.
Those are custom made yellow tires with NSR. They use the Super Grip compound, but since this race is very technical and it's hard to identify tires, we special made those yellow tires for this race, so we can see it by a mile away. I believe those are the very first yellow tires in the market.
Greg, you're not going?
Nobody cheats. Everybody uses the same one, and that's it.
Kind of like the red tires, except
I did have I had a question regarding those tires, Marco. I'm actually I'm on the bubble of signing on, but are those tires already trued and glued, or do we have to, when we get them, we have to go through the
You have to do it, but Dennis is right there on the window. You can ask him for a pair, and I think he can make you a pair for it.
Okay. I actually also had another question regarding, and I don't mean to just barge in. I know there's other things going on besides the race, but I have a muffler, an NSR muffler that is an angle winder, so I know I have to change the chassis out, and that's what's kind of keeping me on the bubble. Is trying to figure out,
So the NSR muffler, they are made on two versions. There's the Evo 3 and the Evo 5. We're racing the Evo 5, which is the one with a triangular pod. The Evo 3, which is the skinny pod with no front wheels height adjustment, you cannot use. So if you have the angle winder, it might be the Evo's 5, which is the correct one. You're just gonna need the pod. And of course, this is one of the manufacturer's races. So you have to buy. You have right there. You drive with your cars on it. Okay.
Yeah, so that's the Evo 5.
You just need the sidewinder pod.
Yeah, I'm driving and I'm sort of off cars.
You're very well prepared for this kind of Zoom meeting, okay? So yeah.
I know you get everything off today, but I won't be deciding until tomorrow morning.
Okay. So
don't make the exception.
So you're just gonna need a pod, and you need to buy one of the motors because we have sealed motors and numbered for this race. They all come from the same batch, so you can buy up to 3 motors, and that's it.
Well, I need a sidewinder spur gear as well, right?
Yep, sidewinder.
So I have the spur gear.
Oh, the gears, the motor, the official motor comes with a pinion, and I think you can use the gear that is in your car. I think you have the black gear, right, Dennis? So the rules are adjusted so you can use materials that come with the car, besides the wheels and tires and motor.
So the spur gear on the angle winder will work on the sidewinder.
Yes, because you're using the high pinions for NSR, the 14s. Or the 15s, but those are bigger, and then they're gonna fit with a smaller gear, which is the angle winder.
Gotcha.
So the only thing he needs to buy is the pod, and he's already have to buy. You already have to buy the motor and the tires to participate, but you'll need the pod, but your gears will work.
Yeah, and the motor comes with the pinion, so you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sounding good. Sounding closer and closer to making me pull the trigger.
Yeah, come on over. Let's make it happen. We're gonna have around between 40 and 46 people racing, so it's gonna be a big race.
Yeah. Okay. All righty. Okay.
All right. Big Den's got his hand up. What you got, Big Den?
Oh, I was just going to ask Marco a question about what time the live stream starts. It looks like I'm in for some early mornings, late nights down here. And
let me take a look. I just got the badge, the racer's badge. So the live stream for Saturday, the qualifying starts at 1:30. 1:30 p.m. p.m. for the qualifying, and the race.
Yeah.
The race starts on Sunday at 9 a.m.
Thanks very much, Marco.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
I'll adjust the times for down under. Thank you.
Hey, I have a Marco question.
Go for it.
Okay, on that motor wrap Dennis just showed, you guys have your seal for tamper resistant. If you ever in the future sell those to clubs, not with your information on it, but just a generic one, it'd be nice for like local clubs. We race too sometimes, but we don't have any way to do tamper resistant motors. If you had a generic wrap for us, that'd be great.
Those I can actually sell it to you.
Well, I wouldn't sell it with your logo on it because then I could cheat. I mean, I could take it home, put it on, make it look real.
Actually, I keep those in my home. Like I don't have them at the store.
Yeah.
So I have some, Jeremy. If you want to buy some, Jeremy, I have them.
I knew Jim Rose would have them. I was just calling him out.
No, but the thing is, it costs us a lot of money to do those, and I have to do like 10,000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I have for several years. Because it came from a bottle company, and I have to find this bottle company in Anaheim, and they didn't want to do such a small and such low quantities.
Yeah.
And I have to do if. Somebody already asked me about to send this out to clubs. We might be able to make motors for clubs, so we can sell a lot of 10 market, and then we don't have the seal, but we have the motors. It might be one solution.
I've got a workaround. I've got a workaround, Jeremy. You need a bottle
around the rules or around that.
Around that. You just need a bottle of Tipex. And you paint Tipex across the interface between the end bell and the motor.
Yeah.
And then if you want to, you can even write your signature on it.
Well, I've been using like nail polish with sparkles in it, doing the same thing, and then taking a picture of it, and that works because you can't recreate that. But
nail polish.
I was just thinking of a nice, elegant solution if he had a inside vendor, but if he does, that's fine.
Yeah, well,
because don't forget that the motors that Marco is providing for this are not only are they wrapped and sealed with that seal that you see, but they're marked, they're laser etched. So there's a marking on the motor as well.
Yeah, that's something that we can offer. Like if your club needs 20 motors that could be sealed and marked with their name on it, we can do it. Yeah, but sending out the seals will be hard, and making new seals will be only if you want a 10,000. Then we can give you the vendor.
No, that's okay. All right, thank you.
All right, Ed, what would you like to ask or share today?
Oh, I was just getting back to you. So I got a response from David, and he's in. If you guys want to do a discussion of autonomous,
sure. I mean, we don't have enough time to. We don't have enough time to do it live today, but you want to do that?
No. He hasn't come back with a date yet. Okay. So, but he at least said he would do it. Yeah, so his approach is interesting. And then I'm about to do another call with Dr. C, Clive, and I'll see if he wants to be there. And then there's not much to talk about on the slotted side, and I could probably address that. And then I don't know on the Scorpius side, I kind of have an idea what they do, but I've never tried it. But I didn't know if having 8 to 10 would be a good idea or not.
I don't think he'd want to attend, but you're welcome to ask.
No, I got it. That was all the response I needed.
I've never used the Scorpius solution, but I have a basic understanding of it, probably as much as you do.
Yeah.
Then there's also the Scalextric Pacer system. There's also the Scalextric Challenger system. Of course, neither of them are off the shelf anymore, but they're out there. But
I don't know anything about the Scalextric side.
The Scalextric Challenger is probably the most the smartest solution because it basically has rotation sensors and accelerometers of some sort. So it detects the sharpness of a turn, how many wheel rotations it's done since the last time it came out of a turn, how long the turn is, etc. So it basically does 2 laps of your track up to a certain maximum amount of time, and then will race the track and slows down and speeds up according to your track after it learned it. And it works pretty good. It's, you know, if you're a really good racer, it's not a real challenge, but you know, for people who are new, or if you use a non-magnet car against it with a magnet and good tires, then it's more of a challenge. That's the smartest system I'm aware of, and that was friggin' 20 years ago or more at this point. So they could certainly do it, do that kind of thing again if they really wanted to. I'm sure Rick from Scorpius would say that his new chip with all the accelerometers built in will be able to do that, you know, type of thing. But he has not made that. I don't think he's made that particular claim yet, though I'm sure he will.
He's kind of poked around it a bit, you know, indicating that with the accelerometer there's some things to do. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good time to. We're going to stop live. We're going to talk about the autonomous AI, whatever you want to call it, cars, in a soon to happen future chat. Not necessarily next week, but maybe. But for now, we're all going to sit here patiently while I look for the button to click on, and then we're going to end. So now everybody wait bye until next week, and we're ending the chat, and we're ending it, and we're waiting. Now it says it's ended, but it probably isn't.